Welcome to Demo Discourse, a series where we look at games that aren't yet ready for their final release, but can still be played. That includes games in early access, alpha, beta, and other various unreleased states, including demos. This week, it's all about Vikings, as I share my experiences of playing Valheim with a group of friends for about 84 hours. In that time period, I learned much about the game. That includes how easy it is to die to fall damage, don't swim too far away from shore, and most importantly, never believe you are safe from trolls. Seriously, I swear these guys just teleport behind you when you aren't looking. Valheim is a game all about Odin sending his greatest warriors to the realm of the same name. It's where the Norse god sealed his greatest foes, separating them from the world tree. It's your job to survive in this world, and to do that, you're gonna have to work hard. The game offers up the basic aspects of survival, such as collecting materials, crafting, leveling up abilities, and more. It also features a hunger system, but not in the traditional sense. Instead of having to eat to keep from dying, players only eat to increase their maximum amount of health. I much prefer this system since it means I don't have to constantly be on the lookout for food, or make sure I have to eat whenever I'm just doing simple tasks. I'm talking about things like base building, crafting new weapons, and collecting supplies. While I call them simple, that doesn't mean they aren't fun. So much about Valheim manages to be satisfying, and it's due to how well it balances life and death. See, players gain levels and skills the more they do them. You want to be a great swimmer? Get in the ocean. If exploration is your thing, you'll watch as your jumping and running skills increase naturally over time. Even each weapon type in the game levels up separately so players can master the class of their choice. However, if players aren't careful, they'll end up dead. When that happens, their inventory is stored at their grave and they have to make the journey back to get it. But even more importantly, death decreases their stats. That stat decrease isn't major, but it definitely makes players more cautious about their exploring. That puts a lot of focus on preparing for journeys. Know you'll be away from home for a long time? Make sure to pack some provisions, such as cooked meats, jams, and other edibles to keep your health up. Maybe you plan to take out a boss with your group. That can require having the right potions available, wearing different armor types, and maybe even equipping weapons you might not normally use. Valheim is all about being prepared, and I love it for that. It's really a game where when I die, I feel like it's on me for not being ready to face whatever killed me. Speaking of killing, there's a lot of that to do in Valheim as well. The world is populated with a few large bosses that players have to summon, but there are also smaller enemies to be found out and about. Some of these, such as Grey Dwarfs, aren't much of a problem to deal with, unless players run into a horde of them and get taken out by sheer numbers. There are also some more dangerous enemies to keep an eye out for, like those trolls I mentioned earlier. It's especially important to keep track of enemy level, which is represented by stars below their names. Those with more stars are more deadly, and players might want to sneak around them instead of taking them on with a frontal assault. While the combat in Valheim is easy to get used to, it has some finer details that are fun to master. That includes a parry system that throws enemies off balance and leaves them open for attacks. When hit during this state, it's an automatic critical hit. This can even work on archers, which is a funny concept to think about. I haven't talked much about the crafting system because so many games feature them these days. You likely know what to expect from it. Cut down trees, mine rocks and minerals, and use it to upgrade gear and build bases. It's all the standard stuff. Even so, there is one difference worth noting, and that's base building. Valheim doesn't just let players build to the sky. There are limits to what they can do. If they start stacking up too much wood on itself, the structure won't be able to support its own weight, and pieces added on will just simply fall apart. This means players have to be careful when crafting to not let things get out of hand. Even so, there are some amazing creations that can be made with just the basic wood. Better than that is the ability to reinforce structures with steel-banded poles and such. This allows for larger buildings and structures, such as bridges that cross over ravines. I'm definitely one of those people that can get lost in building for hours and not realize how long I've been doing it. The same is also true for exploration. However, there are some aspects of the game that I just don't care about as much, such as taming wild animals or learning all of the best recipes for cooking. Luckily, I don't have to. Our Valheim server has 7 people on it, and among them are others that like doing those kind of things. Thanks to that, we could all share in the bounty of our efforts together. That communal playstyle really helps the game and let us progress quite fast. There were plenty of times where many of us from the group would get together and go on mining runs for rare ores. While we were out, others were setting up outpost base and building smelters to melt down those ores. At that same time, other members of the group were traveling across the sea to take the ores back to our main base, and so forth and so on. It was like doing a group project in school. but everyone was actually helping instead of shoving it off on that one poor person that cared about their grades. Visually speaking, Valheim is beautiful. The game makes use of low poly graphics, and that might be a turnoff for some, but the contrast of modern lighting techniques really gives it such a great presentation. It's hard to explain, but I absolutely adore it. Valheim may only be in early access, but it's easily worth playing at this point. The game is only $20 right now, and there's easily enough content to warrant that price. Even if nothing else is added to the game, I'll be satisfied with what I've gotten out of it. Luckily, that's not the case. The roadmap is looking good, with the developers planning plenty of updates for players. That includes new biomes, bosses, more crafting options, and an update to the ocean, which severely needs it. Exploring is fun, but outside of the occasional sea serpent and leviathan, there's really nothing else going on in deeper waters. My recommendation is to check out Valheim if you enjoy open-world survival games with a randomly generated world. Doubly so if you've got a group of friends to play with. With all that said and done, thank you for watching, and take it easy.